Your father was not perfect. Maybe he was absent. Maybe he was present but checked out, physically there, emotionally gone. Maybe he worked himself into the ground and had nothing left when he came home. Maybe he drank. Maybe he raged. Maybe he just disappeared one day and never came back. Or maybe he was a good man with real limitations. A man who never had a father who showed him how either. Whatever the shape of it, you carry it. Every man does. But here is the part that changes everything. The moment you became a man, the moment you were old enough to look at your own life and make a decision about who you are going to be, his failures became your responsibility. Not your fault. Your responsibility. And there is a difference. Understanding that difference is what separates the men who break the cycle from the men who repeat it. There is a pattern that plays out in silence across generations. A father wounds his son through absence, through anger, through addiction, through emotional unavailability, through simply not knowing how to love well. The son grows up shaped by that wound. He inherits the patterns, the defenses, the blind spots. And if he never confronts it, he passes it on to his own sons, to his own daughters, to every relationship he enters. This transfer of unresolved pain moves from one generation to the next, not through genetics alone, but through behavior, through the unexamined patterns a man repeats because no one ever showed him anything different. The data is stark. Boys raised without present, engaged fathers are significantly more likely to struggle with self-regulation, financial instability, broken relationships, and loss of identity. Not because fatherlessness is a life sentence, but because the absence of a model forces a boy to figure out manhood alone. And most of them never fully do. But here is what no one tells you. The wound is not the end of the story. It is the beginning of one. Every man who has ever broken a generational pattern did so by doing the same thing. They stopped blaming and started building. They looked at what they inherited. The anger, the avoidance, the poverty mindset, the inability to stay, and they made a decision. Not this, not me, not my children. That decision, made clearly, made seriously, acted on daily, is how cycles end. The question is whether you are willing to make it. The first move is the hardest one. You have to look clearly at what was handed to you, without using it as an excuse to stay stuck. This is the tension most men never resolve. On one side, denial, pretending the wound doesn't exist, pretending it didn't affect you, performing strength while bleeding internally. On the other side, victimhood, letting the wound become the identity, using the past as the explanation for every present failure. Neither of these is the way out. The way out is clarity without collapse. You name what happened. You acknowledge what it cost you. You understand how it shaped you. And then, and this is the critical part, you refuse to let it define your ceiling. Your father's absence explains some of what you struggle with. It does not excuse what you choose from here. A man who was never shown how to regulate his anger can still learn to regulate it. A man who was never shown financial discipline can still build it. A man who was never shown what faithful presence looks like can still choose to be present for his own children every single day. Clarity is not cruelty toward yourself or your father. It is the foundation everything else is built on. See it clearly. Name it honestly. Then build anyway. Most men skip this step entirely, and it costs them everything downstream. Grief is not weakness. For a man who lost something he needed, a present father, a stable home, a model of what strength looks like, grief is the honest response. Suppressing it does not make it go away. It drives it underground, where it shows up as rage, as numbness, as self-sabotage, as a man who cannot figure out why he keeps destroying good things. You cannot build well on top of unprocessed grief. The foundation cracks eventually. This does not mean years of therapy or public emotional processing. It means finding a quiet moment, with God, with a journal, with a trusted man you respect, and telling the truth about what you needed, about what you didn't get, about what it cost you to grow up without it. Some men need to forgive their father, not for the father's sake, but for their own. Unforgiveness is a chain. It binds you to the man who hurt you. It keeps his failures living rent-free in your present, poisoning decisions he will never even know about. Forgiveness does not mean what happened was acceptable. It means you are choosing to stop letting it run your life. Grieve what was lost. Forgive what can be forgiven. Then stand up, because there is work to do. Here is the practical truth. If your father didn't show you what it looks like to be a disciplined, present, faithful, self-controlled man, you have to build that model yourself. You have to seek it out. You have to find it in books, in mentors, in older men worth studying, in the lives of men who did the work. Nobody is coming to hand you the blueprint. That is what makes this generation of men both uniquely challenged and uniquely powerful. The men who build themselves from scratch, without a model, against the current. Those men become the model for everyone who comes after them. Find a man worth studying, not online, in your life. A man who is further down the road, who has built what you want to build, who carries himself the way you want to carry yourself. Get close to him. Learn from him. Ask him questions. The absence of a father does not have to mean the absence of formation, but you have to pursue it. It will not come to you. Read the lives of men who overcame, men who lost their fathers early and still became legends in their own right, not because life was easy, but because they wrote their own code and lived it without apology. You can do the same. Build the model, live it deliberately, and one day, your son will have the blueprint you never had. This is the level that changes everything. In the Catholic tradition and across Scripture, there is a concept of generational blessing and generational curse. The idea that what a man does, builds or destroys, echoes forward through his descendants. That faithfulness compounds, and that sin, left unrepented, left unaddressed, passes its weight to the next generation. Exodus speaks of the iniquity of the fathers being visited upon the children to the third and fourth generation. Most men read that as punishment. It is actually a description of a pattern and an invitation to break it. Because the passage does not end there. It continues, but showing love to 1,000 generations of those who love me and keep my commandments. 1,000 generations. One man in one generation who chooses to love God and live faithfully. can alter the trajectory of 1,000 generations that follow. That is not metaphor. That is the weight of what you carry and the magnitude of what you can do with it. Your father's failures are not your fault, but they are your opportunity. You can be the man in your line who stops the bleeding, who looks at what was handed to him and says, "This ends with me," who builds a marriage that holds, raises children who are secure, and hands the next generation a foundation instead of a wound. That is legacy. That is vocation. That is what a man was made for. The curse ends when a man decides it ends. Be that man. Your father was not perfect. Neither will you be. But perfection is not the standard. Faithfulness is. Presence is. The daily decision to be better than what was modeled for you, and to keep making that decision even when it's hard, even when you're tired, even when no one is watching. See the pattern clearly. Grieve what was lost. Build the model you were never given. And if you are a man of faith, understand the weight and the glory of what you are carrying. This is not just your healing. It is your mission.